Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Geek Side. It's Wednesday night, 9:28 p.m. Eastern, and I'm starting this thing off solo. Normally the show is supposed to start at 10 o'clock, but the schedule lately has been crazy, and there's just lots to do, so we figured, I figured let's get on here and start early, so I'm going to handle the first little bit solo, just like the old days, and then Matt may or may not be joining us. I know we have Dean in the chat. There's lots to talk about tonight, actually, and lots out there right now in terms of entertainment news, leaks, and some of them involve something that's not even advertised on the show today, and that is there were apparently some Scream 7 leaks about what the movie was originally intended to be. How valid they are, who knows if we will ever know. But I do find it that between the Scream franchise, the Fear Street reports have been out there for a while, but now we finally have a little more clarification on what is going on with that franchise. I think that's a good thing. It wasn't for everybody. Not everybody's a Fear Street fan. And I get it. I totally get it. This isn't Tonight in Haddonfield, but let me start off by saying the number one way that you can support the channel is to click the like button. What? Sorry, StreamYards is acting up. Apologies. But yeah, like, comment, subscribe, slash the bell, all that good shit. We have about probably 90 minutes to 2 hours of show ahead tonight, and a lot to get to in a very, very short amount of time. Because really, when you think about everything we have to talk about tonight, it's hard to jam it all in there, and eventually there's going to be more voices other than just my own. By the way, I don't know if you're available or not, Dean, but I slid you a link. I'm going to be making that Halloween returns announcement shortly, which, by the way, I've been digging back into the script for that one. I got to tell you, I kind of, to some level, understand why some of the Halloween fan base prefers Halloween Returns over, say, Halloween 2018. I get it. I do. They're definitely not the same movie by any means. So, and not to say Halloween 2018 is bad, because I like Halloween 2018. But yeah. Nope, sorry. Oh, yes. I'm reminded in one of our group chats here, I think we retweeted it or reposted it, whatever you want to call it. A little earlier today, it was confirmed that we are getting a sequel to 28 Weeks Later. So it started off as 28 Days Later. Then we got 28 Weeks Later. And now we are getting 28 Years Later. So, I'm definitely excited to dive into that and see what all of that entails. Also, if you're new to the channel, we have a bunch of content here that you can check out. Some of it is very, very new to the channel, and there's going to be some growing pains, but we're pretty committed to what we're putting out. And we're really happy to be bringing you guys and gals out there a bunch of interesting new things, including this right here later this month. The Legacy of Smallville. If you're a Smallville fan, this TV show for me changed the comic book genre of television like no other show has. And it paved the way for basically everything that came for the following decade that preceded Smallville. So we have that coming to the channel a little later this month, Thursday nights. Maybe not necessarily nights, but Thursdays is when the episodes will get posted. I believe right now the working plan is to do one episode of Smallville for one episode of The Legacy of Smallville. It is a rewatch podcast, to clarify. So be on the lookout for that if you're a Smallville fan. It's an obsession. For years, we've talked about wanting to do something with Smallville and Supernatural. We were really, really close with Supernatural, and still want to one day, but like that's 15 seasons of material and a lot to, a lot of time to be able to make content for, and something that's not permanently dead either, something that's very much in the rumor mill to be returning, and possibly in the not too distant future, which leaves us with Smallville, which we think has been put to rest. There's an outside shot at a animated revival of sorts that they've talked about. But Legacy of Smallville coming to Fandom Empire a little later this month. That, however, is going to bring me to this. And I was super, super excited today, and I don't know why that is so small. Let's see if we can fix that. There we go. I was super excited today when I got on Twitter, or X, or whatever they're calling it, and seen that there was Fear Street news. I don't know about the rest of you guys and gals out there, but Fear Street for me was one of the hits of the year it was released. It's been so long now, I don't even remember what year it came out. But I really enjoyed that trilogy. I remember being highly critical of the third movie when it came out because I was fucking lost. However, sometimes you need to rewatch things, and that one probably grew on me more than most movies. So, Fear Street 4, though, is in the news. And What's on Netflix put this out there today. Fear Street, Prom Queen, Netflix movie, everything we know so far. Rumors for a fourth Fear Street following the event release of 3 movies back in 2021 have been flying for what seems like years now. Finally, however, we've been getting bits and pieces of information about the 4th movie, which is currently beginning pre-production up here in Canada. Interesting. Wouldn't be surprised if it's in Vancouver. We also know it'll be adapting the 15th book from R.L. Stine's vast library. I don't think we need to do the recap there, but R.L. Stine's Fear Street, The Prom Queen, was the 15th installment of the Fear Street novels and was published on March 1st, 1992 by Simon Pulse. It's part of the huge array of books from the author, who's also known for Goosebumps. To date, there are 150 Fear Street books in total. So, like, this is a cash cow that Netflix, if they want, I don't know how many. Don't know if they have the rights outright. As you see, my cat up here. I don't know if you or if they have the rights outright to just continue to make as many as they want, or if they have to go back and do a new deal. Joining me now to talk a little bit about Fear Street 4 and a novel. I haven't heard of the novel. I think if Johnny was here, and I think he might be here a little later on, he would probably have a better idea on what the novel consists of, because I think he was into these. But joining me on the show, it's Mr. Matt Whitfield. What's going on, dude?
What is up, man? You're up to
Fear Street, man. Fear Street, it's back.
Yeah, I was hearing you right before you came in and everything. Before I came in, yeah, I was a fan of the first 2. I wasn't the biggest fan of the third one like you were. Even though I've seen it a couple of times. I know it grew on you, but I really like the first 2, and I kind of like that like old lore type of stuff, like the Puritans and all that stuff. But yeah, it just didn't rub me the way I thought it was after the first 2. So I thought the third one was a smidge of a disappointment for me. I still thought it was good, but I just wasn't the biggest fan.
In fairness, when you go from, what was it, 1994 to 1978?
Yeah.
To 1666, I think it was. That's a little bit of a difference from the previous 2. So I just, what's funny though, man, is the part that grew on me the most about the third Fear Street movie was the 1666 stuff.
Right.
It wasn't when they went back to the modern times. And the hilarious part about that is that stuff to begin with, I couldn't stand. I was completely lost. I didn't know why the fuck it was there. So like I had a complete 180. Sometimes your feelings and opinions can change on things depending on so many variables.
Right.
But the 1666 stuff grew on me because, like, hey, look at how different the world is in 2024 from even, let's go, 1999. 25 years. The world
God,
has
old.
changed massively. And now make it 300 years.
Mm-hmm.
All of a
It's
sudden,
crazy to think.
Oh, right, we really are living in a different time where, certain things are more than just frowned upon. You can be killed for them.
Mm-hmm.
Have you heard of Fear Street, the Prom Queen?
No, not at all. I knew something was coming. I just didn't know what they were going to do.
This here says Fear Street Prom Queen is a standalone feature that likely won't feature characters from the Fear Street trilogy released on Netflix in 2021. The Fear Street trilogy took inspiration for its adaptation from multiple Fear Street novels, whereas Prom Queen is set to adapt one novel. However, given the sheer volume of Fear Street novels, there's a chance further inspiration could be drawn from other books to add more story to the horror film. And I believe that is absolutely going to happen. I'd be pretty sure.
Oh, yeah. No doubt.
This looks like it's a non-spoiler little preview of what the story consists of here. The story is centered around Lizzie McVeigh, a student at Shadyside High School. So we're at the same high school.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it's just during a different time. Otherwise, I would say there's a possibility for the other characters to be in there still, but I don't know. We'll see. And one of 5 prom queen nominees. When a bloody and brutal, sorry, is that written right? When a bloody and brutal of one of the nominee, yeah, that's not me. That's how it's written. When a bloody and brutal of one of the nominees leads to more killings, Lizzie realizes that the killer is targeting the prom queen candidates, and she could be next on the list. Hey, I'm intrigued. It sounds simple. It sounds a little more straightforward than the previous 3 movies, which makes me think that this last part of the paragraph here, however, given the sheer volume of Fear Street novels, there's a chance further inspiration could be drawn from the other books to add more story. I think that's almost a given. I think it has to be. Matt, your take on just a little bit they've given us here for Fear Street 4.
It's intriguing. It's really intriguing, as well as the other movies were, and how they're coming around with it. It does sound like it's going to be pretty well made. Thinking it could be pretty well made, considering this idea and how they're going to go with it. And yeah, I think it's gonna be sounds pretty good. Dean says it's gonna be sounds decent. I can agree with that. It's decent. Let's see how. So it's kind of almost like decent is tempering our expectations a little bit, so we don't go in overhyped and go in there and it's not what we expected and we're disappointed. So I think decent is a good way to
kind of prom night.
Yeah,
that's the vibe.
Yeah, he's right.
Yeah.
He's right.
I think it'll feel more like that than, say, some teen drama.
Mm-hmm.
In my opinion. Yeah, I mean, I'm excited. I also think, it depends, the talent that's going to be involved in the project, right? Like, how are you shooting it? Where are you shooting it? We know it's in Canada, but is it going to be in BC? What direction are you going with things? Who you casting? Because, like, that's one of the things that worked for me in the Fear Street trilogy is I didn't mind most of the cast.
Mm-hmm.
I thought everybody was fairly believable. And I think that's important, right? I think it makes a story believable. So there you have it. Fear Street 4 in pre-production. Let's see. It's January 2024 now. They did turn around 3 Street movies in short order. 3 of them. And I think that
Halloween season might not be too bad.
Because they're still in pre-production, probably still in the writing phase. My guess is it's next year. I don't think we're going to be waiting until 2026. But Dean will get this one because we've been talking about it over on Tonight in Haddonfield for a while. 2025 is shaping up to be a incredible year for horror, and I believe that we're going to be adding a Fear Street release to that now too. My guess is this thing will come out sometime next year, as long as there's no massive holdups in production. And I'm excited. It gets added, pardon me, to an already jacked slate for 2025. Let's continue to move on here, see what else we have going. Ahsoka season 2 is in development. Matt, did you ever get a chance to watch Ahsoka?
Yes.
What did you think of it? It's for somebody.
I loved it.
Okay, so have you watched all The Mandalorian or no?
Yes.
All 3 seasons?
Mm-hmm.
And Book of Boba Fett?
Yes.
Okay, so you were fairly caught up on everything that was happening in the timeline. Would you agree that Ahsoka is very inside baseball if you're not caught up with all that stuff?
Yeah. Now that I mean, yeah, kind of. Yeah. I mean, I think I want to understand your interpretation when you say inside baseball. What do you mean exactly?
Well, I just mean like it's more sweaty, more geeky, more meant for the diehard than the average going viewer. Not that the average going viewer can't get enjoyment out of it, but if you're a diehard who follows everything, you're likely to get way more.
Right. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, it was pretty much what we wanted and what we expected in this, and I think it checked all the boxes that we wanted to, and then couple it with Obi-Wan. For the most part, Obi-Wan hit on everything too. I mean, they're gonna have some diehards who disagree.
It was pretty awful in production quality.
The production quality, but as far as like the acting and what we got from
it's Ewan McGregor. I mean, he's an Emmy nominated actor, so
right.
I wouldn't expect anything less from someone like that.
Yeah, but sometimes great actors do crap stuff, and it can show.
What are you talking about? Every film Liam Neeson has done has been fantastic. How dare you?
He has all he does is the same movie, just a different character these days. It feels like.
What's going on, Mitch? Travis, pardon me.
So yeah, it just seems like every movie Liam does is the same one, just different kind of character, different kind of scenario. And God, I love him, but just I can't remember the last time I saw a Liam Neeson movie.
Dustin says, I'd love to see a new movie or movies set after H5, forgetting H6 with Jamie Lloyd. I think he brought this up the other day on Tonight in Haddonfield, and continuing after H5 is just not something I've thought about, simply because I really don't like that movie. And yet I'll give you this. You basically have the same slate that the Halloween franchise had post 1989 all the way up until the release of The Curse of Michael Myers. Is not necessarily a clean slate, but so many different options that you could take a story with, considering where H5 ends. Would you sign up for a sequel to H5, Matt, or is there just too much baggage there?
It's too much baggage for me. I think they missed the mark years ago with it. I mean, I know Danielle Harris still so sometimes can play like a 20-year-old character, because she looks young for her age. Well, then she started putting on now, but 10 or 15 years ago, she still looked like, when she did the Rob Zombie stuff, she still looked young enough to do like her 20 stuff. And so I think they missed the mark about 10 to 15 years ago when they could have done it. But now, no, I don't think you can do it. Now, if you want to do something with her present day, that could be interesting. But going off the hell that was Halloween 5, and not the biggest movie for H6. I mean, there are storylines that they could do. There are scripts out there that me and Sean have either read or looked
Funny
at.
you mentioned that, Matt, because something Matt and I haven't gotten to talk about yet, but I have with Randy and I have with Dean. And as long as Matt is available, the plan right now on the channel is Monday, January 22nd. We promised this live stream to you guys a long time ago. We never got to it. Monday, January 22nd. For the first time ever, we sit down with a round table. It'll either be Matt or someone else filling that round table out. And we review the script to Halloween Returns, full spoilers in its entirety, and just talk about what could have been, and frankly, what could still be. I am throwing that out there now. What could still be, at least elements of it. And that will be Monday, January 22nd. Definitely can't wait for that. I dove into about the first 15 pages or so today. And like I said at the top of the stream here when I was on here alone, I had mentioned, hey, like I get why there's going to be a portion of the Halloween fan base or any fan base that when they don't like a movie or a series of movies, they will immediately go, well, what about that? That would have been better. And I think that happens with every project I do. However, I'm legitimately saying I get the people that were, being honest about the idea that, hey, I think maybe we didn't make the best of the two movies between 2018 and Halloween Returns. Again, I'm 15 pages into it. I haven't read the whole thing in a long time. And I'm enjoying it. Like there is a lot of potential here. And I can't wait to dive into the whole thing with you guys and break it down. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, I'm gonna make sure my butt's there for the round table. I'll make sure I'm awake.
Yeah, again, there you have it. January the 22nd, the Halloween Returns script review. The other thing that happened today was the Game of Thrones duo, David Benioff and Dan Weiss, talked a little bit about what their canceled Star Wars movies were going to be. And even got into it a little bit. And basically they said they did get to working on the project, and they got to a point where they just kind of said, all right, here's what we're doing. This is the direction we're going. Obviously, there was already an initial direction put up there for them to agree to the projects. But once they got into a more detailed direction, it just didn't line up with what Kathleen Kennedy and others at Lucasfilm wanted to do. So it didn't come to be. And basically what it was is what James Mangold's movie is going to end up being, if that one ever gets made. And that is a movie about the why the Jedi Order was needed when it was first made, the first lightsaber, the first Jedi, the first Sith, all that. I could have seen that being a really cool time period for a series of movies. I also wonder if maybe it was just a little bit too ambitious. Are those Star Wars movies you would have signed up for, man? Movies that go back 25,000 years? Like, we already know that's the intention for one of them coming, but that's a long way back coming out of Rise of Skywalker.
I don't think that would have been a bad idea because it's almost like what Lucas did. I mean, we got the first, we got New Hope, Empires, and Return of the Jedi. So then he went back to the beginning, especially with, okay, what made Darth Vader Darth Vader? So for them to go back and wanting to do it from the beginning of everything, I don't see why that had been too ambitious. I think it was something me personally, I think it was something that the fans would have wanted to see. And I actually do hope that when in the next couple of years or so, we get that movie or that movie around that area, because I know I want to see it and how they could. I mean, how what direction they can take with it. And am I correct that the first movie that they're doing is the Ray movie? Correct?
No, that changed as of yesterday.
Oh,
That was the big news day yesterday, man. We were on the Legacy of Star Wars last night. If you haven't seen it yet, go check it out. It was a fantastic episode. We went about I want to say an hour and a half, and it was basically all news with Empire at War. A look back at Empire at War, the video game at the end. But it was supposed to be an Empire Strikes Back watch along, and there was just so much damn Star Wars news yesterday, and there's actually more Star Wars news today too. But essentially, they announced a new Star Wars movie. It's going to be a Mandalorian movie starring Mando and Grogu. But some of the Hollywood trades are reporting, along with Bespin Bulletin, is that the Mando movie is actually going to be the first movie, and then the already announced Filoni movie, which was supposed to be like
the
Mando,
third movie.
Ahsoka, Thrawn, all that, is going to be the second movie.
Mm-hmm. Mm.
Now the report is there might be three of them, so we might have a third unannounced movie that might actually be the Sean Levy movie. Sean Levy, obviously from Stranger Things, and
Mm-hmm.
he's doing Deadpool 3. He did is it Free Guy? I think it's Free Guy. So he did
Yeah.
that movie too. Um,
So Ryan Reynolds is going to be in a Star Wars movie.
I doubt that, but I don't know, man. What's your take on the Mandalorian on the big screen? I've seen so many people putting it out there that, oh, okay, well, Mando on the big screen, is this even going to work? Like, they don't think it's going to line up. And for me, I sit here and the biggest argument seems to be, well, they'd have to watch 3 seasons of The Mandalorian and the Book of Boba Fett and then Ahsoka. And I disagree with that take completely. I think the same thing that we've been talking about with the Halloween franchise, and they've already done it multiple times, and other franchises have gone this route, is what's going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
It'll
Well, I
be
mean,
or some level of it where, like, if say Matt, you're on a date or whatever, and you bring your date to see the Mandalorian and Grogu, which I really hope they change the title. That's terrible.
mm-hmm.
Or I think it's Star Wars, the Mandalorian and Grogu. But still, change the title. It's awful. Fuck, weak titles suck. But it should be the type of movie where you can bring someone who, hasn't watched 3 seasons of The Mandalorian, and they still get the movie and still enjoy it.
Yeah, and that's an
That's the
awesome,
goal.
right? And the awesome thing out of that would probably be, okay, I've seen this movie. Now I want to start watching the Mando, Boba, and Ahsoka, and that's going to be the trigger, because if it's well made well enough, they're going to want to go see that.
Oh, absolutely. To me, the ideal fit is you make the movie, and I'm sure this is what's going to happen too, to some extent. How well they do it will depend on the success of the movie, in my opinion. But I think for the diehards that have followed all the content and remember specific episodes from certain seasons of The Mandalorian or the Book of Boba Fett, I think those people will get more out of the movie or movies. But I also think that. Sorry, 1 second.
You're fine.
But no, I just think if you've seen all the content, you'll get more out of it. You know,
Mm-hmm.
but again, if they don't make it right, you're going to have a bunch of people that are lost because they don't understand what's going on. You cannot
Gonna have
make
a
the
lot of
movie like that.
pissed off Star Wars fans too.
Yeah, I mean, there's going to be Johnny brought up last night on the Legacy of Star Wars. It was an excellent point, one that frankly not enough of the internet is talking about at the moment. Is Kathleen Kennedy, and I know she said a lot and sometimes doesn't back up what she says, but Kathleen Kennedy came out and said that there's going to be a crawl at the beginning of every Star Wars movie now, that they probably never should have got rid of the crawl. It was a mistake, and the space crawl is going to be there. If you utilize your 3 paragraphs of space crawl right, you can catch a lot of people up just on the basics in that. And not just catch them up, but also tease what's to come ahead in the movie.
Mm-hmm.
There are ways to do this right. I really hope they do. The movie's being directed by Jon Favreau, produced by Dave Filoni, written by the both of them, I believe. So it essentially replaces Mando season 4. So in my opinion, I think this effectively ends The Mandalorian as a TV show. I think we have seen the last episode of that, and now we get the movie, which they're going to star in. And the movie, again, this is just a report at the moment, but is the beginning of a trilogy that will involve all the characters. So, or a good
What are we
chunk.
thinking? Next summer or next December?
It sounds like 2026. It sounds like May 2026 is the target date. I will say if they go the route of the volume, the stagecraft tech for a lot of it, if they do, I really hope they do it right and not the cheap way like Kenobi did, because in the big screen
Right.
that's going to look even worse. Like I think there's a shot at late next year, but they already have 2 release dates in 2026, one in May, one in December. I think this movie is going to be gunning for May. And frankly, they're probably going to make it on the cheaper end. I know there's people going to be out there going, well, make it like Andor, make it like Andor, make it like you did the Acolyte that's coming out. And Disney right now is just trying to lower their production cost on movies. So while they could make this movie for $300 million, the truth is they're probably going to try to make the Star Wars movie for somewhere in that 125 to 150 range. And you're going to see cost cutting done in areas. And some of that cost cutting also is, instead of rushing the movie out with more manpower, having less manpower in post production and take longer to get the movie out. So I as much as I'd love to see it next year, Matt, I don't think it's going to happen. I think we're looking at 2026. I'm just excited for a Star Wars movie again. I just hope it's done right. And like, I forget who I was talking to today, but I said Tommy. I talked to Tommy briefly, and I said my expectations are low. Be better than the Clone Wars animated movie and be better than Rise of Skywalker, and I can live with it.
Yeah, I mean, my only worry is people that kind of came along that because of Grogu and all excited. So, I mean, we're going on, by that time, we're talking about 4 or 5 years before we see any Mando or Grogu content. So, I mean, I don't want to see him rush it, but I don't want him to see him miss the mark either. Of all that fandom that they brought in, the normal consumer who fell in love with the Grogu character in Mando. I just don't want to see them miss the mark. And I think the longer they longer they go with it, they could.
Kenny says, my Wednesday has been going great. Just rewatched The Empire Strikes Back and was reading the making of book for Empire, the big hardcover book by the late, great J.W. Rinsler. I got to tell you, Kenny, for years I tried to get my hands on that book up here in Canada. I knew I could have bought it from like a seller in the States and paid out the ass for a used copy of it. But for the longest time, it wasn't available anywhere up here. And it drove me nuts. I don't own it. It's one of those like prized possessions where it's like, if you ever have a few extra bucks in the bank and you happen to run into it somewhere, I'd pick it up. It, from what I understand, it's fan-fucking-tastic, dude. I would say it's behind my Star Wars wants list, though. if I could get like the big full size versions of the Star Wars Archives 1 and 2, that would probably be like my dream Star Wars purchase. I don't think it's going to happen because those things are, works of art and ridiculously huge and outrageously priced. But I think those that do have those two particular books really do enjoy them. Matt, I think that's going to do it for the first part of the show, man. Is there anything that you wanted to bring up here? I know I think we're expected to have Randy and Jer join here soon to talk wrestling, which you're more than welcome to stay if you want. I'm
going to stick around.
To say I would hate for you to fall asleep on camera again.
No, I'm good. I'm good.
So here, let's start here, man. The floor is yours. We don't usually do this. Buying time for the others to get on here. What do you want to talk about? Anything in fandom? Anything at all? Floor is yours. I'll take your lead. By the way, for those that are tuning into the back half of the episode, though, we're going to be talking, just so Matt doesn't bring up any of these topics now, we're talking Royal Rumble plans and predictions. We're talking Kevin Dunn out of WWE. We are talking WrestleMania plans. We're talking AEW, the good, the bad, the ugly. So we're going to talk a lot of wrestling in the second hour of the show. But in the meantime, Matt, what do you want to talk about? The floor is yours.
What is this, Cody Rhodes? What do you want to talk about? Oh, God. You had to put me on a damn spot. Who's your Super Bowl prediction?
I would be... Honestly, I'd probably be really foolish even to make one. I have not watched a single football game this year. Not a one. I guess part of me always believed Tom Brady was going to find a way to come back one more time, and it never happened. And so I'm in my hangover season. But I seen the Titans finally got rid of Vrabel, and maybe Belichick will go there. We'll see.
No, that won't happen. A lot of people think Pete Carroll got let go today from Seattle. That's
he's staying with the team.
That one coming, huh?
I read he's staying with the team.
Yeah, as an advisor. Yeah, I heard that. And now Vrabel to Seattle makes sense to me. And I talked to a couple friends of mine about it earlier when I was at work, and they're like, "Yeah, that makes some sense." But this year for me, baseball's been a lot about, okay, this is unexpected. I'm a little bit surprised by that. So the normal, what we would expect going into the Super Bowl, we might not get this year because I think everybody's saying it's San Francisco and Baltimore. And God, I mean, there's a couple of teams I think in at least AFC that could beat Baltimore. I think Buffalo could. I think Cleveland could. NFC, everybody's like San Francisco. Well, yeah, San Francisco by far and away is the most complete and best team. But could somebody come and sneak in, and do it? I don't know. I wouldn't expect. I think I might sound a little bit biased. I think Green Bay's got a fairly good chance of going down to Dallas and beating them. Oh, Dallas has got this 9-0 record at home. 10-0 record at home. We put up 40 points. Well, I mean, you did earlier in the season, but the only reason you're in the spot you are is because the refs messed up against in a call against Detroit a couple weeks back. So they screwed Detroit. Any Dallas fan?
I was just about to say, fuck Dallas. What have they ever done? Then I remember what they did last year. So
exactly. Dallas's problem is they can get as far as the division, they can't get any farther. And it's just and even if they got to the division, they want to get to the division. They play Dallas in the NFC Championship, and they're just far and away a better team than Dallas. But on paper, you're going to say San Francisco and Baltimore. But if you told me somebody else two different completely teams are in it, I would not be surprised. This is the year of really. I didn't expect that.
Did you ever get around to seeing Thanksgiving?
Yes.
And what did you think of that? And I don't think we got a chance to talk about it too much, but Dean and I both. I think I liked it more than Dean did, but we both really liked that flick, and I'm thrilled there's a sequel coming because the box office wasn't great on it. But I thought the movie was really high quality, and really hope they bring back Patrick Dempsey. I don't know if that's going to happen, but I really enjoyed it. What about you?
Okay. I mean, I thought it was fairly good. And I mean, it was probably for me, it was probably what's his name's best horror movie. I thought it was better than Hostel. Eli Roth. Yeah, I thought. Yeah, I was on a 1 through 10. I'd probably. I mean, I'm shit on a 1 through 5. I'd give it a strong 4.
Wow. So an 8 out of
Yeah.
10, basically.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, I thought it was very well made. Uh,
The
um,
again, I have a bit of a sick, twisted sense of humor. I know you know this.
oh yes, we do.
Want to iterate that before any audience member gets offended, but that Black Friday scene, man, at the
Oh
beginning,
God.
like, I'm sorry, I was fucking dying, laughing hysterically, and I think I don't know if I upset a couple of other people in the movie theater. Maybe we're taking that scene as like frightening, but for me, I found it fucking hilarious.
I was like, this is what they do at Walmart. Yeah, but that's. I mean, they don't do that anymore. And they're just like for reasons because like that movie, they tend to open up at like 4 or 5 o'clock on Thanksgiving and do it that way instead of people parking out all night and then at 6 o'clock in the morning just open the doors. No, they don't do that anymore. So they just over. I mean, with online shopping and everything, you don't have to go to the store or get what you want. If you're smart, you just get it during the year. So by the time Black Friday comes around, you got most of your shopping done, which I try to do. At least I did this. At least I didn't this year. I've done years past. I kind of like lollygagged with Christmas this year, but I still got the deals I wanted and everything. But yeah, I mean, the premise was good. And man, every time I see Jenna Gershon, I just like heart just starts pumping. And I was like, she still looks damn good for her age. And I hope there's some way they can bring more of her back into the sequel if they can.
So
Because
go ahead.
without saying too much, she's the reason why a lot of things set in motion. I guess I'll just say it at that.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
Yeah.
So let me ask you this: we're about to be
Hmm.
joined by Randy, and I believe Jared's going to join us too. Um, Warner Brothers had listed in their upcoming movies slate for the next few years a untitled Elm Street production, but no other information has been given on it. So that has gotten some people excited that we might be returning to Elm Street. How, when, where, why, that's topics for another episode. But what I wanted to ask you is we know we're getting Crystal Lake, the TV series. We don't know when we'll get another Friday the 13th movie. So
Hmm.
the Crystal Lake series has become like the go-to thing for Friday fans. And, frankly, it should, because I think it's going to blow people away. What do you think we'll get first? Do you think Elm Street returns to the big screen first? Or do you think Friday returns to the big screen first?
Friday.
Yeah?
And the only reason is they've got to nail Freddy. And I don't think it's as easy as said and done. Like Jackie Earl Haley was pretty good. I mean, that's that kind of character he had to walk into. And I think with what he had to work with, he didn't do too bad. But it's still way inferior to Robert Englund. So I just think they need to hit on it. I mean, but if we are to get an Elm Street movie, I would love it where I think if you could just use Robert for like up close and personal scenes, I think it could still work. Just like the fight scenes, I mean, with the mask on, unless you're doing a dead on facial of him, it could work. I mean, cinematography these
Confirm Matt
days,
wants
and
a facial from Robert. Um, no, yeah, I'm not saying it can't work. And like, look at all the AI and the deep fake and just all different technology now to do all sorts of different things. I don't know, man. I really believe for the health of the franchise, in order to make new movies or just new content in general going forward, I don't think you can bring back Robert Englund as Freddy Krueger. I think that time has passed. I'm not saying you can't have like a scene with him as Freddy and then somehow his look changes or whatever. But I think the primary Freddy Krueger actor needs to be someone different, someone fresh.
Kevin Bacon.
And I was just about to say, I don't think it's going to be Kevin Bacon. But joining us now, and we'll get his 2 cents on it. He is the co-host here of the Legacy of Star Wars podcast. We went for like 90 minutes last night, just all nonstop Star Wars news, which has also trickled in over to today. And we're going to get ready to talk some wrestling soon. It's Randy. What's going on, man?
2 cents.
Not a whole lot.
Just
got through watching Dynamite, which was a great episode. They're starting to kind of round back into the form we were accustomed to when it first started. So I think things are heading in the right direction there.
Yeah, if they can keep their dipshit owner off social media, I think things will be just great. So does he get fined too? I'm dead serious about this. Does he get fined too with the new thing that they put into place?
He should.
Like, let's be real. I mean, I'm dead serious. I would love for him to get up in front of the locker room and be like, yeah, I kind of fucked up and got dragged into it. And, you know, our new social media stance we had here, you know, here's my fine and I'm putting it towards whatever for all you or whatever.
Daddy, give me some money so I can pay my fine.
Just something like that, because it was just a horrible precedent to set last night. But I will say this: I haven't seen Dynamite. I did see the tail end of the Hangman Claudio match, and yeah, it was a killer ending. I really appreciated how that ended. I liked the double. That's all I'll say.
Yeah,
because it made Claudio look good too.
Oh, of course. That is the one thing I will give them credit for. They do have a tendency of, regardless of who wins or loses, both men or women tend to look strong. So, and that's a good thing.
I was about to say, unless you get squashed 3 minutes back in your return match from injury, but I'll let that one go. Yeah, Elm Street, man. In your opinion, can they go back to Robert Englund again? I don't believe they can.
See, I don't think they can either. And I know he said in the past, he's like, I'm done. I don't want to play the character again. And obviously you can never say never. I mean, come on. We got Harrison Ford back as Han Solo when he was definitely done with the character. So it has to be the right circumstances, or even do it in a dream sequence, maybe, where maybe Robert Englund is just some, maybe it was a character or somebody who tormented someone in their youth or something. Just, you could do that little cameo, but as Freddy Krueger himself, not so much. It's time to, if you're going to really truly be serious about a new nightmare film, or even franchise for that matter, just kind of kickstart a new series of movies, you need someone who's going to have a fresh outlook, who's going to be who can be the face of Freddy for the next generation.
Yeah, I mean, like, I'm not saying Robert Englund couldn't do a one-off film and get away with it and that you couldn't shoot it in a way that's believable. I think he could, but if you want to do 3 or 4 or 5 films, he can't be your guy.
But he can set it up for the next one.
Are you prepared to have a non-Freddy Krueger main character in Elm Street?
That would be very interesting. I don't know how you set that up unless you're, gonna Doctor Who his ass and have him go through like a regeneration where he just shows up as somebody different. I mean, beyond that, let's not go the Halloween route and transfer the evil to somebody else. So yeah, I don't know. I don't know how you play that. See, at least the beauty of, say, someone like Jason is the dude wears a hockey mask. So you can just get some big hulking imposing dude, and as long as he, as a good actor with his, with his body, you're golden. But when it comes to someone as iconic as Freddy, you have to have someone who has a very specific look, regardless of the makeup. I did catch part of Matt talking about Jackie Earle Haley, and I think he did an adequate job for the shit script that he was given.
I liked him in that movie.
I did too.
Johnny and I seen that movie opening night. Neither one of us liked the movie. But I left that movie going, Jackie Earle Haley was not the problem with that movie. Not even close.
Oh, Matt and I have talked about it too. When we first went and saw it, we both agreed he did great. But again, as we've said many times over different episodes, it's like you can give a great actor a shit script. You can give him bad dialogue. You can give him a bad story. But he can still knock it out of the park. But it doesn't change the fact it's a shit movie. So I just think if they're going to do this, take their time, find the right person who gives off the right vibe. Because Freddy is a vibe. That's the thing. He's got that. There's a body language to Freddy Krueger that you have to match to give that feel of it's Freddy versus, just some of the stuff we've seen, like when they tried to do in different movies, when they tried to recast certain iconic characters, there's always a body language there. That's why I liked when they redid, had the new resurgence for Halloween. The dude had the physical appearance. He had the little tics that the original Michael had. He had the body language. And that's very important to iconic characters is, do they give off that vibe? Do they give off that presence that you would originally from the original movies versus a reboot?
Yeah, I mean, like you were saying with James E. Courtney, he had enough of the old Michael that you loved it. The little nuances, little movements, but he also did some stuff within himself that made that Michael what he did with Michael awesome too. I mean, if we could have James G. Courtney for another 20 years as Michael, that'd be awesome. But I mean, what is he in his late 50s, early 60s?
I'd have to look that up, and probably.
Yeah.
I thought Dean nailed it the other night on Tonight in Haddonfield. Like I said, I'd be open to James Jude Courtney coming back as Michael Myers again in another Halloween movie. But the guy that probably makes more sense is Aaron Armstrong. He's younger. He did a lot of the really big stunts in the Halloween movies. Also played Michael in the flashback. Still felt like Michael to me. He's probably the guy more likely to get the call, in my opinion.
I agree.
Joel says Jackie was the only part of A Nightmare on Elm Street that he liked. Yeah, I found him creepy. I also found the flashback scenes where, the parents of the kids in the current timeline are doing him in. Basically, I found his acting to be honestly incredible in that moment. I haven't seen that movie in at least a decade for me. And what I remember of Jackie's performance in it was there was nothing wrong with him specifically. Now, some people might argue that Jackie's makeup wasn't great and the look maybe wasn't the best. But performance-wise, frankly, I think if you look at the performance and you're hoping for whoever does it next, if it's not him and if it's not Robert and you want it to be better than Jackie, I think you're setting the bar too high. That literally, that's what I believe.
Oh, you're not wrong. He definitely, he brought, his style of acting to the role, and it was perfect. It was for him, for what we've seen. Because I mean, him as Rorschach was amazing. I love that, and I loved his performance as Rorschach. So he took that same energy, especially in those flashbacks with him. He had that same energy that really kind of reminded me of that. And I thought it was great. I think if he got the chance to do it again, it'd be awesome. If he doesn't, I understand. Like we said, if we're going to try to do more than one movie, you're looking at someone who can at least fill the shoes for, 5, 10, 15 years, maybe, depending on how well received the first reboot film is.
Well, like we said, he wasn't the problem.
No,
he got a shit script. And other than Rooney Mara, bunch of shit actors to work with.
Dean adds in, Jackie did what he could with that role. Tough shoes to fill, no doubt, man.
Mm-hmm.
No doubt. Travis adds, the whole OG Nightmare on Elm Street would have been prevented had someone given Johnny Depp a Red Bull. Oh, man. That's worthy of some horn, sir. Entertainment Wizard says Katie Cassidy should have played Nancy. Is Katie Cassidy the girl from Arrow who was in the season of Supernatural? I think she was in season 3 of Supernatural as Ruby before Jared Padalecki's wife took over in season 4.
I believe so. Because she was an Arrow, but trying to remember.
That lady has a lot of on-set issues, is all I'm gonna say. And I don't know if it would have went swimmingly. I also wanted to bring up Kenny's point here. I never thought in a million years Michael Keaton would return as Batman. And right in the Flash movie, there he was, him saying, I'm Batman, kicking ass once more, super cool. Have you guys seen The Flash? Either one of you?
Not yet. It's on my to-watch list, but I've heard that I've got some people that are saying it wasn't bad, and I got some people who loved it, and then I have some people who are just like, it's not worth my time. So I'm going, okay, I guess I just need to just watch it and get it over.
Somewhere in the middle. I'm somewhere in the middle. I've seen it, and I think I land somewhere in the middle.
I thought it was, this is the best I could say. I thought it was okay. It is as best as I would go with it. I did not like the usage of Michael Keaton in the movie. Did not like the way he came across as Batman. To me, that's Michael Keaton as Batman, but the entire time I was thinking to myself, this is Michael Keaton pretending to be Batman. And I don't know, at times it came across like a skit that he'd be doing on Jimmy Kimmel. And I think Michael Keaton is an incredible actor. Nothing but respect for that guy. It just didn't work for me in this movie. The one person that really did work for me in this movie, though, and it's the guy that everybody hates, and for good reason. I can't remember the actor's name, but the guy who plays Barry Allen in the movie.
Are you talking about Ezra Miller?
That's it, Ezra Miller. And for good reason, some of the issues that he's had.
I'm just the opposite with you. I did not like.
Yeah, I thought he's the best part of the movie, and the only reason the movie stood on its feet. I thought his, the two roles, obviously. I don't want to get too deep into it.
I know.
So it spoils it for Randy. But I thought they were so different from one another, and I thought he played both of them quite well. That I was shocked because I wanted to be the first guy to come online and bash this guy following the movie, and there just wasn't a whole lot I could bash. I thought he was really good.
I mean, they should have gotten Flash from the TV series. Let's just be honest.
Yeah, but then you run into what we talked off the top about, right? Like you already have a convoluted universe that they rushed into play with Batman versus Superman before both of them got their own movie. And the reason for that is their original pitch for Batman versus Superman was to Christian Bale, and Bale shot that shit down real quick.
Mm-hmm.
And so then you need a new Batman. And even though Ben Affleck was supposed to get his own movie, he's actually supposed to write and direct it as well. That didn't happen. They went right into Batman versus Superman. And then, so like, how do you then go from Ezra Miller's Flash to, oh, here's TV Flash, but you haven't seen any of the TV series yet. So how are they expected to keep
I understand that, but I think as the way he portrayed the character, that's what I'm saying. The way he portrayed the character is 10 times better than how Ezra Miller has portrayed it. I know, Randy, you've seen TV Flash, haven't you?
Of course I have. Hell, I got a picture with them from GalaxyCon last year.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
But
it's, I mean, from what you've seen of Ezra Miller versus this, he's so much better. Well, I haven't watched a lot, but I've seen enough.
So for me, like with Justice League, it's a Flash who still hasn't figured out everything out yet. He's still really green, and he's just trying to do good, but he's just still really young and not understanding his role as a hero. Obviously, you know, as we all know with the Flash TV series, at one point those two were on screen at the same time. So we know that, you know, that's kind of their nod to the multiverse. But I would hope that with, you know, the Flash, even though they're trying to, I don't know how you turn Flashpoint into a 90-minute movie, and leave out some of the best stuff that would have been in there, but that's beyond me. But once I see it, I'll have a better understanding. But it's one of those things where you just have to look at, you know, character growth, and if he did actually have character growth between Justice League and this movie, and if he did, you know, that's kind of what it is. It's hard to take someone who's only been in the role essentially twice and expect them to be like, okay, I need you to take this version of you and turn it into this version, when you have a guy like, you know, Grant Gustin, who's, you know, had many years as the Flash, who had a chance to grow his character and have different types of decisions to play it a certain way to help build the character further. You know, that's why it's always difficult when it comes to taking a character from a TV series, which we're going to see with Din and Grogu in a couple of years, and put him on the silver screen. It really
Change the title. Change the title.
Exactly. They do need to change that title. I don't know what the hell they're thinking. Actually, they're probably not thinking right now. They're just like, hey, let's put something out there and let everybody know. Smoke and mirrors. Hey, look, this is what we're going to do. Look it over here. That's pretty much what it was.
I was just excited to get some good Star Wars Eclipse news today. So excited about that, which we can talk about towards the end if we have time. But I think it's I've given Jared and Johnny enough time to show up. They're not here. So let's move on to some wrestling. Matt, when you need to get out of here, let us know. But let's start with this. You know what? Let's start with Randy's idea, because I don't have a graphic for it yet, and it probably won't, frankly. But Randy, you came up with the idea of, well, you know what? Why don't you just tell the audience what your idea was, pending the signing and the strengthening of the women's division in AEW?
Well, as we know, we just got through with the Continental Classic for the men, and dare I say it, some of the best wrestling they've put on in a long time. The matches were amazing. The format was great. You were always at the edge of your seat, even though, you know, you had ideas who could win, who might not win, things like that. But ultimately, I feel like now that, you know, that's come and gone, and we saw how well it went, now you have, one of Matt's favorites, Deonna Purrazzo, who just signed and has been showing up on TV. And now you have the rumors of the likeliness of Mercedes Moné coming into AEW, which is a very, very smart decision. Because obviously Tony Khan is like, money is no object here. This is what you're worth. We're going to pay you what you're worth. So when she finally debuts, and you can wait. You can wait till Jamie Hayter comes back when she's healthy. But what we can do here is have our own women's Continental Classic. And you can take 10 wrestlers, take 10 female wrestlers, and do the same type of tournament, but with the women instead. And you get the names like Britt Baker and Chris Statlander, but you get Mercedes Moné and Deonna Purrazzo and Yuka Sakazaki, and it's like there's all these female wrestlers that they have on their roster that you could use. That would be huge. That would just actually put their women's division on the map, because they would be so focused on the wrestling and just putting out on a great tournament like they did for the men. I don't see why this isn't, here, take my money. I'm all for it. Let's do it.
Matt, your thoughts?
He could be more right. I mean, that's probably the most I've watched of AEW in months. Ever since, God, probably at least 3 months. Easy. Because I just think right now, for me, other than the storylines, especially with Punk back in WWE, are more intriguing to me and where things are heading than with stuff on AEW. But that Continental Classic, kind of like the matches were, like Randy was saying, the matches were so good, the format was so good, so, and they did right by it. So I'm like, okay, let me see where they go from this. But you're also coming into WrestleMania season, so I'm like a little bit back and forth.
Yeah, I mean, the idea of a women's Continental Classic is intriguing, but the whole point of the Continental Classic was to unite those three titles in a way. I think it would need to be called something else, but either way, the tournament that they sorry, 1 second. Randy, add some more to your thoughts. Sorry, guys, I've got to check on something.
We can call it Hose on Parade.
Only you would call it Hose on Parade. But no, I feel like this is a really good opportunity to strengthen, the notion that the AEW women's division is as good, if not maybe potentially better than WWE's women's division. But you'd never know, because there's really not a lot of women's matches on to showcase anybody. So this would be a huge opportunity to showcase the top stars of their roster. I feel like this would be yes, you could name it something different, but the tournament itself, the style of tournament that they ran, hell, you could actually have the finals at All In, because you get Jamie Hayter in it, and you could have her be in the finals. Because how amazing would that be? Get Jamie Hayter versus Mercedes Moné in the finals at All In.
Oh, that would work. Take my money.
Crowd's going to turn on Moné.
That'd be that way. That's not like that's never happened before, but it's just think about the pop, the reaction, the story you could tell with those two. It'd be it's gold right there.
I know this is going to sound blasphemy, but I hope they book it better than they booked this one. There were some amazing matches, but I'm sorry, I love Eddie Kingston on the mic, but when you look at all the talent that was in that Continental Classic, and then in fact some of them that weren't in that Continental Classic, it makes me go, Eddie Kingston as your winner. I don't know. That's not who I would have had go over.
It's the Rocky, whole Rocky thing. The underdog. Nobody expected him to do it, but he did it. That's That's Eddie Kingston winning.
I had
right
Daniel Garcia win it then.
Ew.
I like Daniel Garcia. At least I liked him a lot before
He's
his dancing shtick.
I mean, I think he's grown on me. I think I like him. I think I like him a little bit better as a face.
I think they're getting ready to push him. To be perfectly honest, I think they're just gearing him up to kind of let him strike out on his own and finally start on what we all thought he was going to be when he first came into AEW. And what was one of our points when we talked about for 2024 what AEW should do? Start pushing their youth, and that's what we're starting to see.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see what way they go with a lot of things here. I'm caught up on Dynamite from tonight. Seen some clip notes on Twitter. That's about it. So I don't really want to dive into what happened tonight. But again, if you can get your owner to put away his cell phone and just focus on the things that matter, like your own product, putting on the great Continental Classic, putting on more great pay-per-views, I think you'll help yourself. Also, I think it's very stupid of Tony to go at a network when you don't have your own future secured yet, and you don't know if you're going to need a plan B. It's kind of like the Charmine Obnoy Chene or whatever the hell her name is that's supposed to direct the Ray movie. We were talking about last night on the Legacy of Star Wars. Like sometimes you don't need to say and cross that line. You know, it's easy to go at things. It's easy to, voice your opinion, but sometimes timing is everything. And this was just not a good time to take the spotlight off of what was a fantastic Continental Classic.
And the sad part is that his comments, regardless of like the backlash he got from him, he's not wrong. He wasn't wrong. I just think he could have approached it differently and not really blasted the whole idea of Jinder Mahal getting a title shot when he hasn't won a match in like over a year practically. So, I mean, I get that part and he's not wrong, but it's just the idea. But you're right. He shouldn't have just been like, obviously it's like, dude, put the bottle down, put the phone down. We all obviously when you hit the bottle a little too much, we see some of your tweets. Let's cool with that shit. But
I mean,
it's out there now.
I really don't want to play Mr. Anti-Tony Khan, but he's made it so easy the last several months to, just looking at it objectively. I don't have Tony Khan glasses on at all. And I want him to be successful. I'm thankful for Tony Khan and bringing AEW to life. People can say the elite this, the elite that, but at the end of the day, if you don't have Tony Khan and the Khan family's money, it's never happening. Doesn't matter how successful their indie careers are. It's just not the same thing. And so I'm appreciative of what he's done and I want it to continue. I just don't want it to self-implode. People have been going on about, CM Punk possibly doing the self imploding thing. And, Drew referenced it this Monday on Raw where they have a bet going on where, how long is it going to take for him to just F everything up? And I kind of look at Tony Khan going you're doing that right now, dude. You're doing that with AEW right now because you can't get out of your own way. And it's really frustrating because I think there's so much potential to come here with the company. I love Christian as champion. I don't think Samoa Joe is going to be champion long, but I love the fact that he's getting an opportunity to be champion. Can't think of a better guy that deserves that opportunity. So I'm excited for stuff that AEW has. I just hope they clean up some of the nonsense. Kenny Omega, by the way, used to defend the AEW World Championship against absolute nobodies. I believe even once on Dark Elevation. And it was like, come on, Tony, pot, meat, kettle. And then the other side of that is WWE doesn't go out on their network and advertise AEW upcoming matches because it's bad for business. Why are you going to give the other company free publicity? And I know you can, rah all the marks out there when you do something like this, but all you did was put more eyes on. If there was anybody that didn't know what was going on in WWE, that watches AEW, you've now let them know what's going on in WWE instead of your own program. And that's the shit to me that makes me go, I'm not a billionaire, and even I know you're not supposed to do that.
Well, I think the problem is he is letting his fandom get the best of him. Like, he's such a huge wrestling fan in general that it gets in the way of remaining professional when it comes to anything he tweets out, and that's an issue. That's something he has to rail in, and maybe he needs to hire like a team that just sends tweets out for him, just checks him, is like, nope, we're not doing that, let's just kind of change this over to something a little, there we go, I'll do it, I'll pay me, I'll check your tweets for you. I mean, shit, make sure you don't put out something stupid.
Also, who gives a shit about what Eric Bischoff says? Like, don't be wrong, I like listening to Bischoff. Dude's an excellent talker, well-educated guy, but he didn't have a flawless track record in the wrestling industry, and he isn't actively in it now. If you don't include, his podcasts, which are very successful and make a ton of money, but still, he's like, you have no reason to go at him. You are literally the number 2 North America wrestling company. Let him talk to himself and make himself look stupid out there.
Doesn't take much nowadays, especially whether it's him or Jim Cornette. I mean, those two can definitely make themselves look kind of foolish when it comes to some of the shit they say on their podcasts.
You know what I like about Cornette, though? And you know what? I'm going to stick up for Cornette a bit here, and I know if Johnny and Jared were on here, they'd be going bananas. Is the dude gets painted as a racist, which, I've heard the clips. I've heard his clarification of the clips. And if he said anything out of turn, he definitely apologized for it. But he's also just speaks his mind. Like, when he goes out there and does one of his shows, not that I listen to them all, but I typically listen to a lot of his Punk coverage. But because I don't think he looks at AEW objectively anymore. I think he did early, but I think, like most people, you get on hating on something, and then you also see that the hating on something sells, then you're going to hate on something a little bit more and get the clicks and whatnot. But I don't think he's as blatant about it as Bischoff is, and what Bischoff does. Like, Bischoff, I think, is quite intentionally trying to antagonize Tony Khan into making some of those mistakes last night, where Jim Cornette, whether you listen to him or not, he's still going to run his mouth anyways, because he's Jim Cornette. But again, someone that Tony Khan and AEW pay way too much attention to, because at the end of the day, Jim Cornette's opinion doesn't matter. It matters as much as my opinion matters, or yours, or Matt's, because we're not actively involved anymore. He's not actively involved anymore. We're not actively involved at all. It is what it is.
I mean, all we can do now is just hope that someone just kind of goes, dude, chill, relax, put the phone down, put the drink down, put the phone down. No one cares. All you're going to do is make yourself look like an idiot. If that's what you want to do, go for it. But I don't know. It's difficult to see just the fact that he does this stuff. All you ever hear from any of the wrestlers is how he's a good-natured guy. He takes care of his people. It's like one of the reasons why Roosh re-signed with them is because he treated him so well, his family well, while his wife was pregnant and giving birth to their child. And you hear all these great things about him, and then he just lets the fandom side of it get too much in his head, and he spews shit on social media, like most people do. But it's the idea that you own the company, you're a professional, you're a business owner all around. You have all these different business ventures you're a part of. You should know better. Don't put ammunition out there for people to just try to drag you through the mud for no apparent reason other than the fact that they can do it.
Yeah, I mean, it's weird because he wasn't like this at all, and then that frankly brawlout happens, and this sort of behavior has been pretty consistent since around that time, and maybe even slightly before. Obviously, there was issues going on prior to Brawlout. That's why Brawlout happened. But I just think Tony Khan's his own worst enemy at the moment and needs to get out of the way and let the positive progression continue forward for the company, because I do think right now they're on a positive progression. I don't think they're anywhere near as hot as they once were, but they're a lot hotter than they were, say the last 2 months than the previous, 2 or 3 by a lot. Like there's a significant difference. So, hoping for all the best on the AEW side. Any last AEW point you want to move on before we move to the WWE side of things?
I'm at this point, I'm just kind of waiting to see how long Joe holds the title, because we've got our ready-made champion in Swerve just kind of sitting there waiting for that opportunity. Hopefully he gets it soon, because that dude deserves it more than anybody in that company right now. And I can't wait to see that match, because it's going to be, we saw Hangman and Swerve go at it and how physical that match got. Can you imagine Swerve and Joe? That's going to be an absolute just physical, just bloody match, and I can't wait to see it. It's going to be amazing, and I hope he holds it for a while. I hope Swerve gets to hold it until MJF's healthy, and then we see how that goes. But it's going to be a good year. I'm pretty confident we've got some really good things coming around the corner for AEW.
Yeah, give me Joe versus Swerve in like a couple of months here, and give Joe a short little reign with the title and defend it a few times, and then put it on Swerve and get MJF healthy, and then give me Swerve versus MJF versus Copeland at All In. That'd be great.
I can get behind that.
Let's shift gears here to the WWE side of things, man. We are in Royal Rumble season. As of today, the Royal Rumble, I believe, is 16 or 17 days away. So a little more than 2 weeks. One, where's your excitement level for it? Because even though I haven't watched WWE in a long time, the one thing I've done pretty consistently is watch all the Royal Rumbles. It's my favorite type of match. I just really, really enjoy them. Where's your excitement level for the Royal Rumble? And at the moment, what direction do you think they're heading? Because there seems to be a whole ton of cards up in the air, a ton of balls up in the air when you look at, Rumble, Elimination Chamber, Mania. WWE has a lot of different options on the table right now for the upper portions of the card.
Well, as far as the Rumble goes, it's events like this that I kind of wish I didn't pay attention to the news and the rumors and things like that, because the year that Drew won it before, the global bastard took over, I had no clue it was going to. I had no clue it was going to happen. I was excited for him. I actually cheered when Drew won the Rumble, and then fucking COVID, and yeah. Anyway, for this year, it's crazy to think, but it feels like more and more things are leaning towards Punk winning the Rumble. That's what it's really starting to feel like. Because at this point, we know that Mr. Johnson coming back kind of solidified those WrestleMania plans for Roman, which means Cody's going to have to wait another year probably, unless they decide to do SummerSlam. And now we all know that Punk and Seth seem to be the other main event, which should be a good match. But that also leads me to think that Punk is going to be the one to win the Rumble. Now, what they did do smart is having the whole encounter with Drew, because now you have that little thing in there of just going, hey, maybe Drew's going to screw him over. But it seems like lately the whole story going on with Drew is screwing Drew. He's messing things up. So it's one of those where you kind of have to look at it. does Drew screw Punk, or does Drew mess up to the point of where Punk eliminates him and just kind of fuels that going forward? So and of course you have to think, there's still potentially Gunther, there's Cody, but again, if Cody wins and we already know that Roman's going to be facing The Rock, what does that do for Cody? So it feels like it's definitely not Cody's year based on everything that's unfolded. And it's a bit of a bummer. But the Royal Rumble is always fun because there's always a lot of great spots, and there's always going to be that surprise entrance or two. And I'm kind of looking forward to the Women's Rumble a lot as well, just because I hope, we get to finally see Jade Cargill in a WWE ring.
Oh, I'd be shocked. I'd be beyond shocked if she's not in the Rumble.
If she's not in the Rumble, then they weren't happy with how raw she is, and they're trying to really clean her up.
I don't think she was that raw. I think she had a little bit of what's the word I'm looking for? Green to her, but I don't think I've seen a lot worse prepared.
I'm not saying what she did looked bad. I liked Jade Cargill and how she was packaged. I'm saying you could tell at times she was putting a beating on her opponent in AEW, and some of the moves were very stiff.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, there's a little green to her. And I went and got a drink refill, but I caught part of what Randy said. Especially, I like I said, I feel so bad for Cody because I think so many people want to see Cody finish the story. But I also think, I don't know if it was somebody said this, that this is the first pay-per-view without Vince, and the new company, I can't think of the name of it right off the top of my head. They want to make a big spectacle. Yeah, they want to make a big spectacle, and what bigger spectacle than The Rock? And who's the one person everybody wants to see The Rock go against? Roman. But the question becomes, what are you doing with the belt? That's the big question. Is he going to lose it at Mania? I mean, at Rumble? I mean, you would think they would have him lose it in Mania, but I mean, they could throw you that curveball, and whoever wins the Fatal 4-Way. I mean, because it seems like they're stacking the odds against Roman big time for Rumble, and like they've never done before. I don't think he's had to have a Fatal 4-Way match to win it, or retain. So I think that's how they're going to set it up. Whoever beats him at the Rumble is how they're going to play it, and then that's when Dwayne's going to come after him, and it's going to set up that program for Mania. And then and I guess they're saying with this health and everything, they want to kind of like use them a little more sparingly than they have been going forward. It's crazy, more sparingly than they have been. I mean, they're using them fairly sparingly right now, it feels like.
Wait,
but Roman.
Oh, okay. Yeah, definitely. But that's the deal they signed. Hey, he got a sweetheart deal with very few dates. You want to add more dates to that? It's not going to be as simple as just paying the rate of those other dates. He could demand a lot more money per date.
Oh, I know he could, and he might. And then I think they're just going to depend on where the storyline's going, what they want to do. They would, like put him in. I don't think we've seen the last of his title reign. I think we probably seen another one before he hangs it up. But yeah, I mean, and what would you say? I think I heard we're coming back. You think it's going to be Seth versus CM Punk at Mania, Randy?
Yeah, it just seems like with everything, with all of the promos and the interactions, if that feels like you're the best bet for night one, but like I said, if you got the Rock and Roman at WrestleMania, that's where they're going to go. then Cody's definitely not winning the Rumble. So who do you have win the Rumble? Obviously now we're trying to make sure that Punk gets to Mania versus Seth, and we all know that that's really where his focus has been. So chances are he would win the Rumble. Introducing Drew kind of throws some doubt in there because maybe Drew screws him over. But again, Drew's been a walking disaster in the sense of him hurting himself. So does Drew get overzealous and try to go to eliminate Punk, and Punk eliminates him because he just overdid it? It's gonna, and the thing is, and of course, now you got also the question with Drew is, has he signed a new contract? Is he going to
exactly? That's what I was going to say. Did Drew resign? Is this them protecting themselves with the storyline?
So I don't know if Drew hasn't resigned, and this is what they're doing to him on his way out the door. It's pretty shitty, to be perfectly honest. But if it's his idea to give him a reason, maybe, have a legit, maybe, we're going to get at Elimination Chamber, Drew versus Seth, loser leaves WWE match, where he's fine. Like, he's had enough of it. He wants that title so bad. He's willing to put his WWE career on the line. Who knows? Maybe that happens, man. Maybe that's his way of exiting the company.
Or Punk versus Drew at Elimination Chamber.
Depending on who wins, depending on who wins the Rumble itself, you could have those two, or you could sit there and Punk wins and he's like, "I want your title shot. Put up your title shot, and I'll put my career on the line at Elimination Chamber." And
I could see that.
I think it's going to be Punk versus Drew at Elimination Chamber. I don't know how we get there. I don't know if Drew has won the Rumble and Punk challenges Drew, or if Punk has won the Rumble, or neither of them have won the Rumble. I don't know, but I am predicting Punk versus Drew at Elimination Chamber because that's a big match. I've never been a big Drew McIntyre guy, even when he came back. And mind you, I'd only seen him in Mania matches and the Royal Rumble. But
you don't. I thought you loved him when he was part of 3-man band, baby.
Oh God, 3MB.
No. But I do remember them. But I like everything he's been involved with since Punk came back, and I can't comment on anything before because I hadn't seen it. But I know, most people online seem to say he was, really stale and seemed like he's basically on his way out. And I got to tell you, I don't know if Punk lit a fire under the guy's ass or not, but whenever he's been on screen to me, since Punk came back, since I've been actively watching WWE again, he's been entertaining. I've never been
got some really good promos,
and I think he'd be an excellent addition to any company if the type of work he's putting in now is the type of work he's going to continue to put in. Because I've never thought of Drew McIntyre to be anything special on the mic, and since I've been watching again, he's been very, very good.
I think he's been pretty good overall since he's came back. His promos are a lot better. I think I like him so much better when he's a face and a heel. I think he gets over more when he was a face and he does as a heel. I just think he's kind of stale as a heel. Versus when he's a face. I think he's more in his where he fits better as a face and a heel. So but they got him cutting heelish promos and stuff. So the promos have been good.
His promos have been true heel, but his stance on everything, when you think about it, has been right. And then he gets caught up with blaming other people afterwards. But his stance on the reasons he's pissed off and he goes out there and bitches about stuff, it's right. It honestly reminds me a ton of CM Punk prior to the mic drop. He had this 2-month period where this is how he was, and then the mic drop happened, and then it was just, full throttle.
Right.
That's who Drew reminds me of right now.
I can see that.
On super steroids, but yeah. Not that Drew's on steroids, but Punk would have to.
I can see where you're coming with. Like I said, he's been I don't think his promos were that good before now as heel promos. But I mean, if this is like you said, if this is the way they're trying to send him at the door, it's pretty fucked up. But I don't know. But I mean, but I am enjoying him right now and interested to see like when is his contract up? Are we going to get him versus CM Punk at Elimination Chamber, which makes too much sense. But when things make too much sense in WWE, do we rarely get it? Nope.
Well, Drew's contract is up right before WrestleMania, so
Okay.
So he will
I
be
think
free agent.
Fightful reported the other day that it was extended through Mania.
Okay.
So I think they have him for Mania, and then that's it. Like I would assume Mania is probably the last date.
They might have added on some time for injury purposes, which I know they do with contracts.
Yeah. They did with Randy.
I mean, they did it with Kenny when he was out for so long recovering in AEW. So the thing with Drew is that back in the day when he first debuted, he was the next big thing. He was supposed to be the man. Obviously, everything didn't happen the way they thought. He took a chance on himself, became Drew Galloway, and just lit up the indies, lit up TNA, and actually, crap, TNA's back now. It's not even Impact anymore. It's TNA again. But it's like he went out there and he just bet on himself. He worked on his in-ring performance. He worked on his mic skills, and he came back to WWE, and they made him an instant heel, but they didn't even bodyguard. So he never really got a chance to really do a lot of promo work when he first came back. And obviously, once he finally won the Royal Rumble and did the face turn, he was going against Lesnar, we got to see more of the work he actually put in while he was away from the company. I agree with Sean that any company would be blessed to get Drew because the dude is a hard worker. He can work light. He can work a stiff match. I mean, think of some of those matches he's had with Sheamus, the three-way between him, Sheamus, and Gunther. I mean, that was an absolute amazing match. But I feel bad if, like you said, if this really is the way he's going out of the company, it's not a good look. But unless he's just saying, you know what, I'll do what you guys want me to do. I'll put over who you want me to put over, and then I will take my leave. I hope that's not the case because I think WWE needs a guy like this that is a hard worker and he's improved over the years. He's really a solid performer that I feel like could be at least a mid-tier title holder until he gets, until he works his way back up to a world title shot again. But it depends on, how long Seth's going to hold the belt, or obviously we've seen what's happened with Roman, so we have no clue really when he's going to drop that. It's going to be interesting.
I guess I don't understand where you guys are coming at the, this would be a bad way for him to leave the company. Keeping in mind, prior to Survivor Series, I have not watched what's gone on. I can only go off of what I've read or listened to. And I'd heard that he was really stale for a good chunk of this year up until recently. And what I look at it is he was in the War Games match, obviously, where he was the one leader. And then he had the championship match against Seth on day one, the second one? Was there one prior to that?
No, because I think he had two in a row. I think he was able to talk his way into another one. So
That's what I thought. I don't remember when it was.
And that's when he rolled him up to the point of where Seth's foot was on the rope.
On the rope, yeah. I laughed at that. But okay, you're in the main event spot. You're really relevant. When we're going into the Royal Rumble here, which we'll talk more about the match momentarily, but you look at that and you're like, you could see Drew still winning the Royal Rumble. In my opinion, the way he is worked into the story right now, Drew is one of those guys I'd put, on the list of, he could win. Is he the favorite? No, but he could win just in terms of story purposes. Cody could win. Cody still might be the betting favorite. Punk could win. I don't know if any of those other guys in the SmackDown match that lose that match are going to be in the Rumble. But if they are, you could say Randy could win or LA Knight could win. Who's the other one? Help me out.
Oh, AJ Styles.
AJ Styles. You could say, Jey Uso or Sami Zayn might be long shots, but considering the pushes that they've gone through recently, they would be, big surprise winners with big pushes. But I just think the Rumble has more, and that's the topic I want to transition to here in a second, but I think the Rumble has more possibilities for like big time winners. And I haven't even brought up the two surprise guys yet. And I think we're at like 7 or 8 right there. And Drew is one of them. And towards the top of that list right now, if I had to do like a betting odds for like me personally, who I think would win the Rumble, Drew would be 3. I think if you're the third most likely guy to win the Royal Rumble out of 30, that's not bad. Now, what happens if WrestleMania, and if it ends up being, say, I don't know what you do with Cody if it's Rock versus Roman there. And I do want to touch on JT's point here in a second. But let's just focus on the Raw thing. Consider where the story has been. It seems to be this triangle of Punk, Seth, and Drew. Hasn't just been Punk and Seth. Drew has found a way to be in there too with both of them. What if the WrestleMania match is the 3 of them? That's the night 1 main event match. Drew versus Punk versus Seth. I don't think it'll be, but what if Drew gets that spot and then doesn't re-sign? I still think main eventing one of the nights of WrestleMania as you go out would be a pretty big way to go out. Personally, that's just me.
No, I agree with that. I just think the idea of just the way he's losing makes me feel like, I think that is kind of where my lean to is why I feel like that's a shitty thing to do. If you know the dude's time is up, why have him constantly lose? Now, yes, having him in the forefront of everything is good. But also I'm looking at the idea of just him losing consistently and in various ways that make him look like he's just screwing himself over. That is kind of why I said that's just a shitty thing to do to the guy. But again, he may also have been like, look, I will do exactly what you guys want me to do. And then when that's all done, I'll take my leave. And if he's already agreed to it, I got no problems with that. But it's not out of the question to have a triple threat, especially if, Drew finds a way. But also we have to also keep in mind that there's always going to be the potential for Damian Priest to be lurking with that Money in the Bank briefcase, because we all know he's been focused solely on Seth, cashing in on Seth. So
you bring that up, and JT also brought that up in the chat. I think Priest cashes in on Seth at Mania as well. Here's my prediction. Priest will never cash that briefcase in, and that somebody else will cash that briefcase in. Not sure how we get there, but it seems like they really are making him kind of like Drew pointed out, look like an idiot or a dipshit with his attempted usages of the case. I think it's going to blow up in his face. It's either not going to work or somehow he loses the case. What if him losing the case ends up being a Punk or a Drew or a Cody winning it in order to get into one of the title matches?
Well, the thing about it is he's so due for a push. It's not funny. And I think they put the.
Where are you pushing him though? There's not room.
I know, but I don't know how. But I think at this point, I almost feel like the case might be hindering him because I think he's had his run in the whole group. I mean, they set him up so well coming in, and then he becomes part of the group, and then it almost feels like, okay, we don't think he's ready, but I think he's ready for a push, and I think that they're like, okay, we'll let him win Money in the Bank, but now it's starting to get stupid. But didn't Seth cash in on somebody? Smith cashed in on Lesnar at Mania.
Mm-hmm.
So
couldn't he get threat?
Yeah.
Could we be getting that? Because I think it just needs to be him going out there, not him and uh Dominic, which made it look weaker.
Seems like he's going to get kicked out of that group is where they're going. That's the tea leaves that I read.
Yeah, I mean, well, yeah, but
That's
if
been
you're
in the
gonna get,
cards for a long time that
I
he's going to
know
eventually leave or be kicked out of the Judgment Day, turn face, and that would be basically his first big program is against the Judgment Day. It's just a question of when. When's the time right? When do you pull the
when's he
trigger?
going up against Finn Balor? That's essentially him leaving Judgment Day is him going up against Balor. And who do they replace in the Judgment Day, or do they just let Judgment Day fade away?
No, I think McDonough is going to be the replacement.
He
It's
sucks.
just they didn't call him up from NXT for nothing. So
I know.
they obviously see something in him, and pairing him with the group right now
It's a
works.
smart thing. Yeah.
I mean, if I don't know how much room there is between here and Mania, but Balor versus Priest at Mania would be possible, especially if Balor is a part of costing him his briefcase or even the cash-in portion of it. I think those are two. Balor's a big enough name, and Priest, getting a push. That'd be a Mania match that makes sense to me. Another Mania match that's rumored after his appearance on Monday Night Raw a little over a week ago is The Rock versus Roman. However, it's also been floated out there. What if they did Rock versus Roman at Chamber, have Roman retain, and then Cody gets his shot? My question to you guys is, could The Rock versus Roman happen at the Elimination Chamber? I don't think there's a chance in hell it
I don't
happens
think
there,
it is either.
but could it?
It could. I mean, anything's possible. But I think Endeavor would want to save that for Mania, in my opinion. But go back to what you were saying. I mean, you would have to fast track that Priest Balor match pretty quickly. When's he gonna get? When does he leave? When does he get screwed? And can they fast track a storyline to get to the Roman Mania? Because I think that's the kind of storyline that needs to build for a minute before they do it.
They started building it last year when they were at odds with each other. Because they both had different views, because you had the whole thing with Seth versus Finn, and then you saw Priest on the outside with the briefcase. So it's like that was always there. That was always in the back of Finn's mind. And of course, we had a bunch of mess ups where, Finn taking a shot to the head from the briefcase here and there that cost him matches against Seth. So there's all there that's still there. That history is there that they could all of a sudden, maybe Finn accidentally
Finn
cost
snaps
Priest.
or Roman. I mean, Priest snaps and like fuck this.
Pretty much, and it's not that hard to fast track it because it's been there. It's been out there before. All you have to do is have like that one slip up, and you can be in Priest can be like, not this shit again. Really, we're gonna start this all over again. Didn't we already get past this?
Mm-hmm.
And it can build from there. And you could have someone like JD McDonough try to plant the seeds of doubt in terms of Damian Priest, which I think they've tried to do here and there as well.
They did.
So there are things there to push the narrative to have Finn versus Damian at WrestleMania. You could have it loser leaves the Judgment Day or something like that. Unlike, the whole R-Truth and McDonough match, but And I have to say, it's good to see R-Truth back on my TV screen. The dude just knows what he's good at, and he is gold every single time out.
That was comedic gold.
I love that guy.
Mm-hmm. Now we just need to bring back little Jimmy.
One day was like, is little Jimmy here?
Mm-hmm.
Moving back to JT's point, do you guys think Rock versus Roman could happen in Chamber? Or is that Just Mania. To me, that's a Mania match.
That's a Mania match.
I feel it's a Mania match. It's not out of the question, only because of, if memory serves me correctly, isn't the Chamber in Australia this year?
Mm-hmm.
So with that, you could try to bring your big guns out just for that particular show, because that's got to have a special feel to it because of being in Australia. So I can see it happening. Will it? Probably not, but it can't be really ruled out of the question, just because of, if you want to have that big feel in Australia to give something special to your Australian fan base, that's one way to do it.
And one more thing that because I'm thinking about it. You keep on hearing these rumblings of Stone Cold versus Punk at Mania.
They've been quiet for a little while now, but not refuted by any means. No report ever came out saying that it wasn't going to happen. The only report we have is that WWE kind of wanted it to happen, which is moving on to the Royal Rumble match. Think about the names we just mentioned, and I'll get back to your point here, Matt. Punk, Drew, Cody, Jay, Sammy, all guys likely to be in it, all guys that you could see possibly winning. If guys that lose the SmackDown title match, we would assume Roman will retain. Orton, AJ, LA Knight. We haven't even mentioned Finn Balor. I'm sure there's other big players I'm forgetting too. But then, does The Rock just get to come back and demand a title shot like he did the last time? Or does he have to earn it? Is The Rock going to be a surprise Royal Rumble entry? Is Stone Cold going to be a surprise Royal Rumble entry? Maybe a lesser surprise would be Brock Lesnar returning. Like, you have, to me, this is the biggest star-powered Royal Rumble since probably 2002, the year that Triple H won, and you had Undertaker and Kane and Triple H and Stone Cold and Kurt Angle and Mr. Perfect, and there's a ton of other people, like big guys too, RVD, Booker T, Big Show. There was star power. And I would argue a lot of Royal Rumbles have lacked that in recent years. They try to bring back one or two, surprises, but now all of a sudden, Gunther, I didn't even mention him, just because I don't know too much about him, but I know, people should believe the hype.
I think we're speak of Gunther. I think we're heading towards Gunther versus Brock at Mania,
which would be a fantastic Mania match, especially if Gunther's going over. If he's not, then I'd wonder if Vince McMahon's back calling things. But there's so many guys in this year's Rumble where you could go, okay, it's not just 2 or 3 guys who can legitimately win and 27 other schmucks. It's going to be a star-powered Royal Rumble one way or another. How do you guys all see it playing out? How do you want it to play out? More importantly, you're a consumer who pays for the WWE Network in some way or fashion down there. What do you want to happen in this match? Take it away.
It's a good question. Obviously, my lean is always going to be towards Cody winning it and finishing the story. But since we know it's not going to happen, I'm going to look at it more from a realistic standpoint here. And as I was saying earlier, I think we're heading towards Punk winning the Rumble. Would it be awesome if someone, say, like Drew or somebody else, maybe, Damian Priest or even Sammy or Jey Uso or, a surprise entrant like The Rock? Would it be cool to have them win? Of course. I think one of the reasons that'd be a new one. But I mean, I think the reason we're going to see such a star-studded Royal Rumble is because you're going into a huge anniversary for WrestleMania. And this is the start of WrestleMania season. So, go all out. Bring in whoever you can. Bring in your top stars. Leave no stone unturned. And let's have a shot at trying to surprise everybody with it's anybody's game. And, I mean, I can see that. I can understand it. And you're right. A lot of previous Royal Rumbles haven't had as much star power as this one probably will have. And it makes a lot of sense for the reason for it. So would it be cool to have Lesnar come in, wreck shop like he always does? Of course. He's been gone long enough to be missed. And it's especially big old hillbilly Brock. Come on. That was just pure genius on his part. That was an awesome character call on his part. I mean, we always knew he could talk. It's just, Heyman. It's Heyman. You can't a dude like that.
You want to take that mic out of Heyman's hand. He's gold. Yeah.
So it's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting. I'm still going to call Punk on it, but if anybody else wins, hey, that's amazing. I'm all for it.
Matt, how about you, man? What
expect
are you
the unexpected? Expect the unexpected.
Oh, I get that, but what do you want to see as a fan, man? You're paying for the WWE network. You sit down that night, like, you hoping the Repo Man comes back and wins? Like, well, what do you want to see on your TV?
I want to see Coco Beware, man. What are you talking about?
And is Barry Darso even still alive?
I'm not sure on that one.
No, I'm pretty aligned with Randy. I think, is there a way we can just get everybody happy and still have Cody finish the story? Can Punk do not Punk? Can Roman do 2 matches on separate nights? I mean, who knows?
I don't want that.
I don't want that either. But I just want to see, you set it up for so much of the year for him to finish the story. But now, 3 months before Mania, we've got Rock. He's not going to finish the story. I think that's bullshit. And I just think that needs to be at some point. I mean, does he have to finish the story against Roman? No. We'd like to see him finish the story against Roman, but does he have to? I don't think so. But I'm with, especially with Rumble, expect the unexpected. All those names we started spitting out: Stone Cold, Rock, Lesnar. I would not be surprised if 2 of those 3 are in the final 4.
So let's go there next. Everybody loves to do their final 4 where everybody backs up into their corner. I think it gets a little cliche over time. Like, do a final 5 or 6, which I know has happened a couple of times, but like the everybody backing up into their corner thing, I don't know. It's a little overdone, but it seems to always happen. So who are your final 4 in this Rumble? And try to make it a healthy combination of not just who you want, but who you realistically think will be in the final 4.
Okay, Randy, you do one, then I'll do one.
Oh, just back and forth.
Yeah.
So my first person I think is going to be in the final 4 is going to be Gunther.
Punk.
Okay. What about you, Sean? Who do you think is going to be? Who's your first one of the final 4?
Drew.
Okay. Let's see. Another one that I think is going to end up being in the final 4 is, I'll agree with Matt on this one. I'm going to say Punk.
Matt, your go, buddy.
I'm thinking that it's like, who do I want versus who's going to be?
He's Tommy being it.
What'd you say? What's the question?
You're Tommy being it, where you're
That's
thinking.
Tommy being it.
Yeah.
What's the question? Who
do I want? Love you, Tommy.
Oh God. Shit.
JT says Punk, Gunther, Jay, Cody, LA Knight. That's 5, sir. We asked for 4. You got to eliminate someone. Who are you eliminating?
one of the four, one of the three of the Fatal 4-Way who don't. I mean, if Roman retains, one of the three will be in the Final Four. So Orton.
The dude in the bloodline, the non-Uso one, who's technically an Uso.
Oh, you mean Solo Sikoa?
Yeah, I have him in the Final Four.
Okay, all right. So,
got to have some SmackDown talent in there.
Very true. So it's
who? Randy.
Oh, I avoided. I'm avoiding picking those guys just in case all they get's the match and not the Rumble.
So let's see. I'm just thinking here. It's because I'm trying to think of like anybody who we haven't really talked about that could be one of those guys that just kind of comes out of nowhere.
That's why I picked him. It's like SmackDown. Pretty sure he went over Cena. So, yeah, why not? It'd be a pretty big push for him to be in the Final Four.
And since we don't know all of the entrants yet, so this will be interesting. I'm going to say, I think that we're going to do one of the surprise entrants. I think will be in the Final Four.
Stone Cold. I'm
going to go Lesnar, and I'll tell you why. Because
does he have a brand, by the way?
He's a free agent.
And I'll tell you why. Because it's a good opportunity to set up him and Gunther for Mania.
That I can buy. That I can definitely buy. My third is gonna be one of the Usos. Or
one.
What? I can't.
You got to. You can't. What are you, George Costanza? Well, I'm going to take two picks with this one.
Which one's on SmackDown? Jimmy, right?
Yeah.
Jimmy. That's my third.
I mean, that's a hell of a push for him, for sure.
He came in late.
I could see that.
I'll take Punk. So now I got Punk, Drew, and what's it? Solo? Is that his name? Solo?
Mm-hmm.
Like Han Solo?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Spelled the same way.
Well, and I do think that they're going to use the Rumble match to probably set up Jay and Jimmy for their WrestleMania match somehow. I feel like that's going to be a thing. But anyway, for my fourth, this one's a toughie. Because there's so many guys I would love to see in the Final Four, but it's like realistically, who probably is going to make the Final Four? And I'm going to have to go Drew.
God, you could have taken a little more time, couldn't you? Oh God.
Here, I'll skip in line and you can.
I was about to say, I've had all this time to think between you and Sean. I've had time to think.
So say I'll skip in line to give you a little bit more time. My last guy's Cody, so mine would be Cody, Solo, Punk, Drew. I'll say this though: don't sleep on them giving Logan Paul some long run if he happens to be in the Rumble match.
No, I think he will be. So I've got Jimmy, Randy, Punk. Jimmy, Randy, Punk.
Also, while I buy Matt more time here, so another name we didn't mention is a surprise entrant. He just had a run there recently. how cool would it be if Punk's not a late entry and he's in the ring by himself waiting for the next entry to come out and Cena's music hits? Like, that'd be a huge Rumble moment.
Oh God.
Punk and Cena in the ring, one-on-one in the Royal Rumble, even for a few seconds to stare down. I think the crowd would go bananas for that.
They would,
God,
for
yes.
sure.
Yeah, like that. I wouldn't rule that out as a possibility, although Cena's...
Depends what he's doing. If he's going there for one night, yeah, he'd do it. If he's have to do like multiple appearances, I don't think he'd do it. But for one night at a Rumble, he'd do it. I don't see why he couldn't get away from whatever he's doing for one night. Gunther. I think we'll get 2 faces and 2 heels. So I've got Gunther, Jimmy, Randy, Punk.
JT says maybe it's Stone Cold in the ring with Punk. Yeah, hey, I've already said if somehow this ends up being Rock versus Roman and Punk versus Austin as your attraction main events for WrestleMania, I think the perfect way to get Punk and Austin into a match, other than one drinks alcohol and one straight edge, is to have Austin return at the Royal Rumble and eliminate Punk, and Punk just be incensed by it and get back in the ring and beat the shit out of Austin and eliminate him, and there you have it. You have your Mania match. But I still don't think that's going to happen. I think the most likely thing to happen is what Randy said off the top. Punk versus Seth. I think that's where they're going with it. Here's the question. So we all gave her a final 4. Who wins and who are they eliminating?
I'm going to say Punk is winning and he eliminates Drew. I feel like with what they've been trying to plant seed-wise for the story, it's going to be that what I said earlier. Drew's going to get a little overzealous, over-aggressive, make a mistake, and Punk's going to take advantage of it.
I'll go Punk. Oh man, see, I don't know. See, part of me, if
I can go.
If I knew for sure, go ahead.
Now, I mean, I don't think they're gonna give Jimmy the number. Give it to Jimmy on my end. I don't think they're gonna give not Screw, but have Gunther lose it to finish second 2 years in a row. So, CM Punk takes out Randy.
Part of me still just has a really hard time believing that Punk strolls right back into WWE and wins the Royal Rumble, when if you asked people 2 months ago if they seen Punk going back to WWE soon, the answer would have been hell no after how AEW ended.
I mean, the amount of money the man's already made the company just from merch sales, they're probably like, thank you. Here, let us give you a treat.
Yeah, no doubt. But that's where I have a problem with my final 4. Like, I feel like you could look at Monday's promo with Drew and go, Punk just tipped the hand for the story, intentionally, where it could come down to Punk and Drew at the end of the Rumble. They don't have to do that just because Punk said he would save him for last or whatever. I would love to see Punk versus Cody, but I would also love to see if Punk's going to lose the Rumble, for him to get screwed somehow, so it allows him to come out the next night on Raw and do the whole he's pissed and he got screwed out of his Mania main event again, even though he could still end up in the main event. Give me Punk getting screwed or Punk winning, or better yet, I still think they're going to keep Punk face, but it'd be really funny if like Cody eliminated Punk and nobody's seen because the refs are distracted, breaking up someone outside, and Punk does the Austin from 97, gets back in the ring and eliminates Cody. That'd be funny. I don't think it's going to happen, but Yeah, I don't know. I would, if I had to bet, I'm going to go Cody versus Punk, and Cody wins.
Definitely a possibility. I know one of the eliminations I kind of see happening potentially if Lesnar is an entrant. I can see like him and Gunther eliminating each other at the same time, and then just constantly getting it going back up the ramp, brawling. I think that's. I mean, I could see that happening, just because that's something that would happen with Lesnar. Is those two? It was him and whomever is just going at it and just chopping the hell out of each other, beating the shit out of each other, and it just all the way back up to the ramp into the back, setting up their match. So that's kind of where that's where my lean is towards that, because I know I'm hearing, I've seen some stuff where the potential of Lesnar possibly coming back is there. So
yeah, I read about possibly Lesnar versus Gunther at Mania, which would give Mania another pretty big attraction match. So, I guess the last question before we get out of here for the evening, guys, is who's left to be a surprise in the Rumble? And I don't mean like the Repo Man is back, or more realistically, just a mid card guy from the mid 2000s is a surprise. Who could be realistically a big surprise for Mania? Because Punk's not going to be the surprise. People have theorized about Rock or Austin. If you could only pick one, who's somebody that will be a surprise in the Royal Rumble match?
Austin.
You think it's going to be Austin, huh? That would. I would think if Austin's in that match, it's got to be Punk versus Austin at Mania.
So are we just going with a surprise between either Rock and Austin, or
Anybody,
just anybody?
Anybody with that would create a new splash.
So there is a big star out there who's going to be a free agent soon if he's not already. And I know WWE has had their eyes on him, but so has AEW. And that's Kazuchika Okada.
That's not where I thought you were going.
He would make a huge splash.
I think Matt thought you were going MJF, but I'm pretty convinced
that's exactly where I thought he was going.
I think he's already re-signed.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure MJF's already re-signed.
Yeah, there's just not enough out there about it. Mine would be John Cena, because I think John Cena is still more realistic to appear in the Royal Rumble match than Stone Cold or The Rock, who, believe it or not, I would still list as possible this year. But John Cena is more possible. It's not going to be Edge. He's already back. AEW has a bunch of the other talent, right? So, like, the options are pretty limited on who you can bring back to make a splash. I think Cena makes sense if he's available that night. But my God, if we get Cena in that Rumble and him and Punk don't interact, boy, that's going to be a missed opportunity.
Oh God, yes.
I mean, Cena does make sense, and he's going to get pop or a boo. Either way, he gets a reaction, and that's kind of all you want as a wrestler, is a reaction. Even though when it comes to Dom, they still pump in crowd noise, which is stupid, but it is what it is.
I don't know why they do that. I heard that guy's reaction at MSGU in the Punk match. You don't need to. People boo the shit out of him anyway.
Exactly.
Matt, did you have sorry, you said Stone Cold. Okay. What's one thing you guys don't want to have happen in the Rumble, and then we're out of here? One thing that you're just really against it. It could be someone winning or something happening, or someone winning in a certain way. What's one thing you don't want to see that you'd be kind of upset about?
Santino Marella not winning it.
Oh,
Lord.
He's gonna bring out the Cobra and be out in a second, like the last time.
I don't want to see CM Punk enter anywhere between 27 and 30 and win. I don't.
I agree.
I think if you're going to have him win, let's have him earn it a little bit. I'm not saying enter him at 1, which I actually think is a possibility. I think he might enter this thing early. But 20, 15, 18, even 22. But don't let him be one of the last 4 guys.
I think Edge came back at 20. And he lasted to the final 4, I think, or 5.
And I'm someone who wants him to win, but please not like that.
Right.
What do I not want to see happen. Honestly, I think the one thing I really don't want to see happen is, say, The Rock is a surprise guest, surprise entrant in the Rumble. I don't want to see him be that guy and then end up winning it. If they've already got the plan set up for him versus Roman, there's no reason for him to come into the Rumble and take a spot from somebody.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
Because we know Cena is basically a talent enhancer at this point in his career, because he's been putting Solo over.
Or if you bring it, I think if you bring Rock in, either Jimmy or Solo is going to have to take him out. And I think that just fuels it even more.
Or to add fuel to the fire, have him come in and then show him respect and not like go at him right away, which will piss off Roman and add more fuel to the fire. So,
but then you put more heat on them versus Roman, and you set up, or you set up them turning on Roman and acknowledging Brock is the head of the table.
I'd also like to point out whether there's a title involved or not. I kind of wish there would be when it happens, so Punk's just one of the next guys in line. Heyman on SmackDown, I think, acknowledged Punk for the first time, which Punk had already acknowledged Heyman a couple of times, actually. And you got to know that's
guy before. Yeah.
Fightful and Wrestling Observer already reported that's one of the planned things for down the road. Part of me wishes that Roman doesn't lose before that, so Roman's at like peak Roman. I'm not saying so Punk can win, but I'd rather Punk lose to peak Roman, who hasn't lost yet, than Punk lose to Roman, who might have lost once or twice to Cody or whoever.
I guess we'll have to see how it unfolds.
All right. Well, that's going to do it for us. 2 hours, 24 minutes, and 31 seconds into this thing. Thanks for coming out tonight and joining us. It was a fun episode. We covered a ton of stuff. Matt, I never in my wildest dreams thought you would go, well, you weren't here at the beginning, but still, I didn't think you'd be here for the rest of the episode. And you arguably look more awake now than when you first joined. Nobody can hear you. You're muted.
That's because I just woke up. Check your text.
Randy, where can everybody find you at, man?
So on X, I am at Giggity Giles, and since we're now getting into the NFL playoff season, basically, I'm going to assume once a week we will be recording on the Sports Brew. You can just type Sports and Brew, and you should be able to find it on Google, no problem.
Matt, how about you? Where can everybody find you at, buddy?
Pornhub.com.
I'm not sure.
No.
What is somebody's personal fluffer? I mean, what?
Yes. Jenna Jameson's.
Overrated.
That's not what a fluffer does.
No Mercedes tonight. She'll be at the Rumble. Could you imagine after like 95% of the reports have her going to AEW? If she somehow ends up at WWE now, the internet will have a fucking meltdown.
Mm-hmm.
Just a wee bit.
Yeah. I think she's AEW bound. There's too many people.
I think she is too.
I just think they're trying to let Deonna Purrazzo have her time to kind of shine a little bit before they bring her in.
That makes sense. You know, Punk had his time before Bryan Danielson came in AEW. So Adam Cole didn't. He just, came out and then
got injured.
Trumped by Bryan Danielson. So moments later. I think that's going to do it for this evening. We have a Halloween return script reading, hopefully a round table of sorts. Randy and Matt have been invited. Hopefully they'll be able to make it, but Dean and I for sure will be doing it. January the 22nd, 9 p.m., Halloween returns right here on the channel. If you've never read the script, We're going to break it down just as if we had just gone to see a movie of this on opening night. Definitely looking forward to that. And read about 15 pages today on it. And I really do get why people gravitated towards this. And I'm only 15 pages in. Again, it's not like it's my first time reading it, but there's some good material there for sure. Halloween returns again in just about 2 weeks' time right here on the channel. And don't forget, starting at the end of the month, my better half is going to join me for a brand new show Thursday nights. We'll see if we, don't end up killing one another on air, but talking about something we're passionate about, the legacy of Smallville, a Smallville rewatch podcast where we're going to go through the entire series, one episode at a time. We won't be live. There'll be pre-recorded episodes, at least for the first little bit. And if there's demand, we'll go live. If not, we'll keep it pre-recorded. It's definitely a passion project. And we have so many more things coming at the channel, including Tuesday. We are watching the greatest motion picture film ever made, Star Wars: The Empire Strikes Back. Watch party, 9 p.m. Eastern. Be there. For Matt, Randy, everybody else at Fandom Empire. Dean was here a little earlier on in the night. Thanks to the chat for coming out tonight. The chat's been very engaging all week, honestly, so definitely appreciate that. And by the way, I didn't get to say it on air. Whoever was a part of the Legacy of Star Wars chat last night, fantastic. Some of the most active the chat's been since we've done that show. Really appreciate you guys coming out. But for Matt and Randy, I'm Sean. We'll see you next time on the Geek Side.
Thank you.